Cursed by the old gods in Bethany, we are four immortals hiding among the stars, trying to break our curse of completing the 1001 pieces of pop culture before we are captured by impossibly powerful beings. This is a review show. In fact, it's episode 102.
Cool.
Woohoo.
Nice.
Guys, I'm not sold on the new intro. I'm not sure.
I feel like 102 is like when you first turn, what's the number? 23?
Right.
Oh, no, really 22. Like, it's the first year where there's really no significance. Like, 19 there isn't really, but, like, you're headed towards 21. 22, it's like, this is what it's like from here on out.
You're done.
I feel we've been showing no significance for a while now, though. I think we jumped the curve.
Well, 101 is cool, for obvious reasons. Palindrome, there's a movie. But
What?
102? 101 Dalmatians?
Okay. They're moved just with the number, its title. I thought there was like a...
101 Dalmatians is
Don't
an
roll
important
your
film.
eyes. There's also 102 Dalmatians.
Yeah, but that's not a real movie. That's a Disney sequel that was a straight-to-video Katzenberg monstrosity.
No, this is Glenn Close. This was the sequel to the live action.
The live action? I didn't know there
where
was a sequel.
Cruella, she gets brainwashed through like therapy to be a good person, and then she snaps and becomes evil, tries to kill dogs again.
That's how therapy works, everybody. Mental health is important.
I don't know, she snaps and her hair becomes like re-white again. Glenn Close is terrifying.
It somehow still made $183 million in the box office.
That's insane. Family movies are weird.
That's kind of low.
For 102 Dalmatians?
Basically, anyone with kids of a certain age, that's a guaranteed at least one parent, one kid ticket.
It's a movie that, of this podcast of 4 pop culture hosts, 3 of them forgot it existed.
I definitely didn't know it existed.
I didn't know it existed.
I forgot it existed.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a review show. We are the Immortals. My name is Austin. Seriously, guys.
I'm Sarah. That was actually genuine.
Yeah, me
Guys,
too.
I actually, it wasn't a bit. I messed up.
It's very odd not to have Adam here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Lee, by the way.
And I'm Pedro.
And together we are the Immortals. Yes, we
Yeah.
are. Sans Adam. Adam is safe from the universe, away from the eyes of Bethany. We are, of course, still trying to break the curse, where we are trying to complete the 1001 movies, albums, food, songs, and TV shows that you must consume before you die. We're currently hiding on an unknown planet right now, hiding from those bad guys, as we just, make do with what we have.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any legs.
Nope.
We should get you robot legs.
Yeah.
We need to get you Darth Maul style robot legs.
Like,
I'm all for that.
like this week, Pedro built a lighthouse, which is confusing to me because there is no water nearby. But why did you build that?
Pedro,
What if we go foraging, venturing, and
Pedro,
need a way back?
It's the first thing you do in Minecraft. You build a beacon so you can find your way back. Come on.
I actually never played Minecraft.
Pedro, I like Austin. Can the next thing be robot legs for Austin? I don't care how many he gets. But I want him to
just
have robot
one
legs.
robot leg.
As long as it's functional and allows him to walk.
It'd be like one of those misfit
tails.
toys in Toy Story.
Yeah.
The guy just has the spring as the one leg.
Better than what you got now.
Oh yeah, I've just been sitting.
Keep throwing ideas. I like it.
Spitball. Again, this is a review show. And we review things. Last week, Sarah gave us the random number of 629. That is the number of all the books we're going to do to see what we're going to review. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Cool. The 629th entry in that movies book is the film Days of Heaven.
The album is California by American Music Club.
The food is holy basil.
The song is Nin'Alu by Ofra Haza.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nice.
Last week, I don't know how to say this. Now,
We're good, yeah.
Got it.
Because I heard the song.
I set myself up to not get this right. The TV show is Takeshi's Castle.
No.
Close
Takeshi.
enough.
Takeshi's Castle.
At least you didn't add more syllables like you did last week.
Takahashi Castle.
It's not pronounced the same as Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Anywho.
Days of Heaven.
In 1916, America was changing.
I need shoppers!
Expanding. holding a promise of new prosperity. People heard the call, and it made them restless. Empires were being built in the wide open spaces. And so they came. Each one boldly, blindly searching for the days of heaven.
Days of Heaven is the second film by the elusive filmmaker Terence Malick. His first film was Badlands, and then he didn't make a single film for 20 years.
Damn.
Came back with The Thin Red Line, which I need to revisit. Then he, about 10 years after that, he made one more film about Pocahontas called The New World. And then about another 10 years or so, he had his first real big hit in a long time of The Tree of Life, which is not the best picture. Since then, he's made films on a more regular basis.
Wait, and so when does this fall?
This is the second film.
Okay. He
made two films in the 70s. This is in 1978. And Terence Malick, for someone who has, I think, still less than 10 films, is a very curious filmmaker. He is one that is very visually striking at all moments. He is one who loves to film in the magic hour during that period where the light, when the sun is kind of going down, it can kind of become any moment of the day, depending on how you film it. It also just typically looks beautiful.
Is it when it's going down? I thought it was when it was going up.
You get two.
Okay.
But, yeah, this is a story that, shocker for those of you, it's your first Malick film, has more plot than a lot of his films.
Huh.
What?
Oh, yeah, this is one of his plot-heavy films.
Huh. I don't think Terence Malick is for me.
This is the story of, in 1910, a man played by babyface Richard Gere.
He's such a babyface.
So cute.
He accidentally kills a man at a steel factory, and he and his sister and his girlfriend essentially go on the run and work on a farm in Texas where they are harvesting wheat. Mm-hmm. Then a love triangle is forming between Richard Gere, his girlfriend, and babyface Sam Shepard. Not as babyface, but just...
Richard Gere, I cannot emphasize enough how babyface Richard Gere is.
Mm-hmm. And essentially, that is it. It is a melodrama focusing on the working poor, as well as the times of it is, and also the biggest themes of Malick, which is nature, beauty, and God. Also with, as always, a Malick staple, very particular types of voiceovers, which are thought-provoking and rambling and naturalistic, and usually not connected to what's happening. It doesn't tell you things in a noir kind of fashion. It just is. It's constantly setting a tone.
He put those in after, actually.
Oh yeah. He just he films a ton of things, and then
does he write them after?
Yeah, usually.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, at least from what I saw, he came up with it so that he could finagle an order out of all the things that he shot. Especially with his later films, there are many major A-list actors who are cut out of a film because he just films a billion things and then goes, oh no, your character's not in it anymore. There was, if you listen to Let's Take 5, the Andrei Rublev episode, we had on my old friend, Ed Lear, who actually worked on the film Knights of Cups by Terence Malick, and he talked a bit about what that set was like. But Thomas Lennon, the comedian, has a great article. He wrote, I think, for Vanity Fair? I forget where it was. We talked about what it was like that day, where Terence Malick's assistant would just keep handing different actors a note card, which is like a secret about their character. And the camera will just kind of keep walking around 40 or so people as Christian Bale just kind of talks to some, doesn't talk to others, looks out the window, and they all have to just be. So like I said, this is the plot heavy of his film because all the scenes are definitely in order.
Yeah.
And there's a beginning, middle, and end.
I suppose that's true.
I mean, there's a decent amount of plot.
I'm saying this is very plot heavy for him. So I am overdoing the intro simply to kind of set the framework for my very great question I'm going to throw to each of you, which is, did you even like this film? Pedro.
Actually, yeah. Well, not the best thing in the world, but it got better, weirdly. Not that the film starts poorly and gets better. My feeling for the entire film as it progressed became more mature, I guess.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, actually.
No, not always.
But I don't know. You want me to talk more, or you want to go around with that question?
No. Like it, because it is this is actually, I think, a very good entry point to Malick.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Tree of Life, even though I think it is a masterpiece of modern cinema, does just show the beginning of time with dinosaurs for a while.
Sure.
And I find a thematic connection to why that's in the movie, but it is not pointed out at all. Whereas this in Badlands, you can watch and go, oh, I know who everyone is, and I know why there aren't dinosaurs in this scene.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it was weird because, like, towards the end, I didn't see a lot of characters going with who I thought they were. I thought some really poor choices were made from who they were supposed to be, I guess. Or just who they had become in general. There wasn't a lot of, like, actual evolution, like, internal evolution with a lot of these characters, with what happened. But it was a very beautiful movie to watch. It's really cool watching how they are the hay season in 1916, which is when this takes place. And it was interesting.
Now, while we all are immortal, we can easily get sick or hurt.
Sure.
That's on the run. So I just want to throw it to Lee. Lee, you have a gluten intolerance. Did you almost die watching this film?
No, that's not how gluten works.
Watching 90 minutes of close-ups of wheat doesn't...
No.
Oh, okay.
At least as far as I understand, you have to digest the gluten, so I can look at it all day long.
Could you look at this all day long?
No.
So
this movie is absolutely beautiful. It reminded me of a very pretty painting. Like, specifically, there's this painting, it's called Christina's World by Andrew Wyeth, and it's just a woman laying, like, on a field with a house in the distance. Really great painting. Highly recommend everybody looking it up, and just looking at that for an hour and a half.
But this is pretty, too.
I mean, it's pretty. It is really pretty. I just don't feel like the plot was worth it. Like, the prettiness of it can only make up for the boringness of the rest of the movie so much.
Sarah, what do you think? I think you had...
Yeah, there were two things I liked. I liked them consistently throughout the film. I really liked them. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And I really liked the narration. It was interesting and authentically childlike in a way that I really appreciated. Beyond that, I didn't care about any of the characters. I just didn't care. I didn't care about the love triangle. I didn't get what the point was. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean,
to me, it didn't feel like there was anything at stake. Like, yes, there was actually some big shit that could happen. The farmer could find out that they're not actually brother and sister and they're actually dating. That's a big deal. But the tension is not there. There's no consequence and there's nothing at stake, and that's one of the issues I had with it.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel naturalistic either. Like, it's not just, it's still very stylized. It's still, everyone is talking in a very sort of, you know, scripted way. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just that, like, I didn't get what he was getting at. I feel like in some ways I would be more enamored with, like, a totally conceptual artistic thing of his, where it's just like, okay, the point of this movie is to, like, look pretty and make some interesting abstract concepts, like a commentary about art. To me, the fact that there was a plot meant that I was waiting for the plot to matter, and I didn't feel like it did.
And this is not... I actually have to think this is my fourth favorite Malick film, and it is... I also do not get very invested in the love triangle aspect of it, But it's really like the world of it, where I admire a lot of John Steinbeck, but I can't get into something like The Grapes of Wrath.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this, although it's not the exact same time period, this captures kind of this working class in a particular way where you see how fragile it is. You have this beautiful opening with that great piece of classical score, which I can't remember the name of right now.
It's Aquarium by Camille Saint-Saëns.
Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And
so you have that, which I, very bizarrely, I did a thing when I was in 5th grade when I... 5th or 4th, like somewhere in elementary school, where you had to like make fish in art class, and then in music class we like did a thing where we would like make them go up and down with the right notes with this thing. So I have a very weird like up down like with it. But it is a thing. That's why I do remember it correctly as a piece about nature, and it's set with all of these images of the Industrial Revolution and what cities are looking like in 1910, and you see it's like the grittiness and dirtiness, but it is just very steel heavy of what his job used to be, and just how fragile it's gone. Because he makes this offensive attack, and now this man's dead. Now that job's gone. Now this life's gone. And it's just so interesting to look at the beauty and the simplicity of how they were farming the wheat, and the idea that the land can provide for you. But also, that is also so fragile, because as we saw, locusts, really close up of locusts.
Not locusts.
Locusti?
It ends in a T.
I think it is TS.
Yeah, it's just locusts.
Noisy bugs. You see them and you see fire as a way of like, this all can be gone in an instant. So I felt that was supposed to thematically reflect this love triangle of like, oh yeah, it's all very serene, but you know this just break any second, but you're distracted by how beautiful these wheat fields look, because this is his sunflowers. He likes to film wheat because it's very pretty.
Also, especially since we're taking this from kinda as a first person narrative from the youngest sister, who's like the most removed from the actual plot and what's going on.
Sure.
She's just being dragged around place to place, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, it really is like there's no, for Richard Gere's character, he did something, life's over here, let's go here, things happen, but for her, it's really just, okay, gone, next, as far as how life evolves.
And he's always the one who could break their life, right?
Yeah.
Like he's the one who killed the guy, he's the one who's essentially making all these lies, he's the one who's pushing the secrets, and...
then why isn't that character more interesting? I don't know.
No, I agree. There is something...
Oh, boy.
There's something... I love the world, the look. I do not get as affected by the main only 4 characters.
Like, it doesn't make sense because, so, at some point, he leaves as this weird, what do you call it? What do you call it in the beginning? It wasn't a love triangle in the beginning. It was a fraud? Not fraud. What's the word?
Lie?
Lie.
They were pretending that they were brothers and sisters. I think, like, essentially...
Well, to avoid scandal. I mean, because they're not married.
But they were pretending that even before because they said it was safer to call each other brother and sister than dating.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not
as
married,
traveling
so that's
people.
a problem, probably.
But, like, when she marries the farm owner, at first, like, she's doing this for Richard Gere's character, and then eventually she it becomes a more authentic love triangle.
Yeah.
And he just leaves.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
But then he comes back, and we're supposed to assume that he made something of himself because they've been reading about him in the newspapers. He seems well dressed. He comes on his own bike, that sort of thing. But that doesn't change anything. And I don't know. Like, maybe it was just bad luck that the farmer saw his interaction with his, I still presumed ex-girlfriend, because I figured he was getting ready to leave anyway, again, after he saw that she was happy, he's got his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then things kind of went downhill. I don't know. It was strange because he ultimately didn't change.
No.
Or maybe he did, but nothing
None of
happened
the characters did.
No.
But I think they're just like it is unfortunately static, and I think that Malick is using Richard Gere's character of like, he will always be the locusts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he could just, like, it's just in his nature to fuck it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's rich or poor. It sounds like Richard. So that's why, like, to me, the movie does have a bit of a happy ending just because the sister's away from him. Because she's a bit older now. She can kind of make her own, like, way in life, and she's not following the fire.
I actually liked the ending too. I was cool with that. Because I felt the same way. It was sort of the instability of the whole thing, and she's clearly not super happy at the end of the movie, but you get a feeling that she has a place of safety, and it's not clear whether she's running away from it and going on an adventure, or whether she's, like, running away from it in, like, a dangerous way and going back to her brother's way of being, which is an interesting conclusion to the story, or, like, taking, like, a day trip, you know, taking, like, a, you know, with every intention of going back. Like, she didn't take anything with her. Like, you know, just, like, stuff like that I'm, like, it was just a really nice ending. It felt, I liked the ending a lot.
To me, her last line hinted at the latter, because she was talking about her friend. So her best friend from hay picking days ran off, and then she runs into her years later in a town. And then her last thing was, she was one of my greatest friends. I hope she made something of herself. Or I hope she ended up okay, which kind of made me assume that she came back. Yeah. Or didn't stay with her, at least, which could have always maintained traveling. It was, I don't know. It was interesting. It was a good ending.
I was kind of curious. I just kind of think of this now, like, because I just feel like God always plays such a part in a Malick film, because it's the way you just keep looking at this, the way that nature is and the way the earth is, and how God kind of created it in a way. The film doesn't necessarily, like, hate the locusts. You know? Like, it is like, this is part of nature as well. This is all, like, this happens. You have all of it. And I don't think the film hates Richard Gere's character, which I think is frustrating for us, because I would just see him as very boring and very flat, which is the problem with the film. But it's just kind of curious, like, they both exist in this film, that's in this world. I don't know. It's...
Well, in the end, the locusts weren't even what destroyed the crop. What did was the conflict between Gere and the farm owner. Yeah. And that's what started the fire that actually ultimately destroyed everything. I mean, you can sort of hope that there's going to be some marginal harvest if it's all standing up and they make it past locusts. But no, there's this... It all comes down to conflict and how people deal with it. I mean, in the beginning, Richard Gere could have just been fired, but no, he swung a shovel and killed someone. Yeah. Second murder was maybe more in self-defense, but...
Once you get 4 murders, you're just a murderer.
Yeah. Like, at some point.
Eventually, was going to call a spade and say, stop using spade to kill people. Yeah. Any final thoughts on the movie, Lee?
Boring.
Yeah, I don't know. The discussion and thinking about the ending has made me like it slightly more than I thought I like the ending a lot. So there's 3 things I like about it. It's pretty, there's cool narration, and I like the ending. Certainly, there have been movies that we have reviewed where I have not been able to name 3 things that I liked, so...
That's fair.
I think, I think Lee will like his Pocahontas film more, The New World. I could see Sarah getting into Badlands a lot more. And, Pedro, I think you'll probably end up watching a lot of them. I think it's good stuff, yeah.
I mean, this is my first time seeing this film. I'm really curious as to what it'd be like to revisit it in 10 years, kind of thing. I don't want to watch it again anytime soon, but it's weirdly vague enough, even though it does have plot and structure. It's vague enough that you can take away a lot just depending on how you want to examine different aspects, which I mean, I guess is all art, but
Malick in particular is like a philosophy-based filmmaker. So you really, if you think you're deep diving too much into a metaphor, you're not. It's okay. Like it's intentionally made that way to have the visuals evoke what you want out of it, like a great painting. Like, what is this represent? That's why I keep bringing up just what God provides. That's not discussed. It's just how I always took just the long scenes of farming. Just like, there's just so much. I've never seen so much wheat in my life ever. Yeah. I mean, even during like a good run of Sons of Catan, Never this much wheat. But now it's time for hinges. I'm going to give this a 4.1.
3.3.
I'll give it a 3.
No, solid 4.
Okay. That is Days of Heaven. It is available some places. I don't know. I own it and put it on a spaceship with us.
$3 to rent on Amazon.
There we go. It's sometimes on Filmstruck. It's on the Criterion Collection. So, but anywho, so we saw them travel from Chicago to Texas, but there are more states than Illinois and Texas, right, Lee?
Sure.
Name one.
How about California by the American Music Club?
You don't want me to think what I'm thinking, or the devil in my throat to come up. And you get so nervous that everything's a joke. If I have to be this lonely, if I have to be this lonely, if I have to be this lonely, I may as well be alone.
California by the American Music Club is the third album, came out in October of 1988, and it's odd. I will say I've never heard of American Music Club.
I haven't either.
So this is a brand new experience for me, and it was something else.
I kind of liked them. Like, I never heard of them either.
If you could repeat your description that you sent out via WhatsApp earlier today, I feel like that is, like, totally right. You said that,
Yes.
You know why we use WhatsApp? It's because some of us can't walk around the planet as much as others and like to be in the loop about what's going on because someone didn't build someone robot legs.
You should give him robot legs.
So my description of this album is as if Tom York decided to cover a Hank Williams album, but couldn't be bothered to learn the words and just mumbled himself through it.
For the non-musically inclined, Tom York is the lead singer of Radiohead, and Hank Williams is a country singer.
So it's this very weird combination of steel guitars and twanging vocals over like really weird, lilting, half-mumbled lyrics. It is a very odd combination, and I still don't know how I feel about it.
It's funny. As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, that is what it's like, and I'm kind of here for this. Like, I was here for 40 minutes of it. I'm not like this band's like biggest fan, but like, I mean, I will admit, in the 90s, I feel bad that I never really I didn't get Radiohead, and part of the reason was because their lyrics are weird and mumbly and sort of experimentally, and this was much more grounded to me than Radiohead. It was something like somewhere between your Radioheads and your Coldplays and Dave Matthews bands on the far end towards non-experimental and prosaic. And I enjoyed it. It was, I enjoyed listening to it. I sometimes look at this list. There's a lot of problems with this album list, but I think sometimes it's just the editors being like, I really like this band, so we're going to put this on here because I like them. And I got the feeling that was what this was. And they reminded me a lot of other, like, calm 90s and 2000s alt-rock bands I listened to, like Guster and Coldplay. And I was like, I'm cool with that.
It's very pleasant. Like, it just really had... It creates that vibe of just... I don't know... You're sitting on your porch listening to music, but you don't feel dumber about doing so.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. But it did kind of hurt the relaxation when you have a terrible song called Bad Liquor in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was not good.
Jarring,
it was not a good song.
Terrible.
It's funny because, like, I remember... Again, I was comparing this to all other 90s alt-rock albums. And, like, there's a Red Hot Chili Peppers album that similarly has, like, a really... harsh, jarring song in the middle of it, and I was like, oh, it's like that I think it's in the middle of Californication, I can't remember, but just remind me of that.
I always kind of forget, albums I like when I put them on my phone or whatever, I'll just take off those songs so I don't have the complete album.
Right.
So I keep thinking, man, this is a perfect album. There's no bad ones. Oh, right. I took this one out years ago. Whoops.
That song that you were mentioning, Austin, like every time it came up when I listened to it, it just took me out of the album. And this album is already hard to like find the groove of, if you will. It goes back and forth between this tangy Hank Williams kind of sound to a weird experimental new sound that they don't necessarily blend well. It kind of like this album kind of didn't really know what it wanted to do, it felt like. So that song on top of those two other factors just made it like impossible for me to want to pay attention to it.
It's right in the middle too.
Yeah. That's the worst part.
It's like 12, 13 songs. It's like number 6 or 7. It's because it sounds unlike any of the other ones, and it's not like a bold experiment. It's just like, here's the silly one for the kids. And it's like, oh, okay. I don't know, like their tone was nice. I listened to it once. I kind of wanted to listen to it again, just to kind of focus more on the lyrics, because I don't think they have a particularly deep point of view, at least on first listening. It was nice. I felt like it had a bit of a consistent voice with its viewpoint of the world. Like I got what was a American Music Club. Like I can picture all their music videos. It's nice.
Yeah, I'll give you that. My only issue is I'm so sick and tired of listening to people whine.
Yeah, it's a little whiny.
Like I want something upbeat. I want something happy. I want someone talking about something else besides their miserable love life.
Yeah, but that's kind of how music works.
I don't know. Hinges?
I'll give a 3. A 3 sounds good, right?
Yeah, I got a 3.2.
3.8.
Oh.
I enjoyed it. That is California by American Music Club. Now it's time for the food segment. Sarah, as you would have crossed this planet, which we're not naming for safety reasons.
It's very important.
We're broadcasting out of Chicago. Why don't we just say we're in Chicago? That way they look in the wrong place.
Yes.
Because
we're in Chicago.
Because we've already put out episodes.
They might skip a few.
You never know.
People kind of have to, right? Like, it's not like they're not time-based, but we'll figure this out later. Either way, wherever we are, did they have whatever we're supposed to eat this week?
So it's holy basil, which I was really hoping was just basil and holy water. It is unfortunately yet another Southeast Asian, Indonesian green that I do not have access to on this planet and probably would not be able to have access to on Earth. So yeah.
But if you live in Southeast Asia,
you should
mail
eat
us
it,
some.
I guess, or mail us some. Like, I mean, like, I'm never gonna die. Like, the foods, I'm never gonna eat them all. I'm never gonna die.
We don't actually know what list is the right curse list.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay, let's get to the food segment.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the song segment. Pedro.
Yes.
What was it this week?
We listen to Nin'Alu by Ofra Haza. Nin'Alu is a song by Ofra Haza. Is it? How do they roll their R's? Ofra Haza? Haza?
It's definitely.
You are outside of my comfort zone.
It's not Haza, because that is usually a CH, but I don't have any idea.
Me neither. Anywho, this came out in 1984. She was a very famous Israeli singer, pop star. Born in 1957, died tragically at 2000. I think she was 47, if that math checks out. AIDS onset pneumonia. Yeah.
Really?
That sucks.
It does. But, so she grew up in a poor household, with, the Yemenite community? Something like that. And that's how she learned to sing. She sang publicly, for the first time at 13. She was named Israel's Madonna. That sort of thing. She was the top pop star in Israel at 19, which would have been like mid-late 70s. Very prolific woman. She is, if you've watched The Prince of Egypt, she helped Hans Zimmer come up with the music, and she sang the part of Moses' mom, I believe, in Deliver Us.
I have no memory of that film.
It's a great one. I was just looking it up again today, and, like, all-star cast, damn. Apparently, when she was working on it, everyone was like, oh my god, you're wonderful and you're so beautiful, we're gonna just animate her to look like you, and you're gonna sing it, and it's gonna be awesome. Anyway, so this song is based off a poem.
Or, yeah, a prayer poem
type thing.
It's a God thing.
Yes, and I believe the lines are, the gates of the rich may be closed, but the gates of heaven are always open.
Yeah.
Something like that. I didn't actually catch the full translation. Oddly enough, I watched a music video, and there are some chunks that are in English.
Yes, there
are.
Mm-hmm. But this was quickly picked up by the pop dance scene. Some people started mixing it without her permission necessarily, but that was okay, in some dance recordings, and that just further launched her into international stardom. And yeah, okay, came up with a good song. It's actually really sad. I read something about an article with her, I forget where now, where she would come back home to this traditional lifestyle, and even though she's a rich, famous international superstar who would hang out with other rich, famous international superstars, she would immediately become, like, submissive, allow herself to be the target of harassment from her family, who wanted her to be a wife with children type thing. It's, yeah, real weird and sad. Rich history. But the song, I don't actually know a lot about traditional Hebrew music.
Well, it's, from what all you just said, like, I mean, it's 102 now. Is this one of the biggest worldwide songs we've covered?
It definitely might be.
Well, I've never heard of it before, and I really enjoyed it.
As far as in the dance scene, I think it very well might be.
I didn't recognize it, but I definitely, like, when I watched the music video, I was like, oh yeah, like, I totally see how this fits into a ton of, like, beats, and yeah. I
only heard it. I didn't watch the music video.
I may have seen a different music video. Mine was, there was, like, horses and ruins. Okay, cool. I don't know. It's really fun. I like that sort of sound. I mean, I think of it as more Middle Eastern sound, but I mean, Israel is in the Middle East. I don't know how much is a geographic influence and how much is a cultural influence in the end. If you go back far enough, I'm sure it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, she has the most beautiful voice.
Yeah.
And
damn, so many people have sampled this. Like Snoop Dogg, Public Enemy, let's see, Madonna, Punjabi MC. Like those are some pretty big names to just like grab it.
Collaborate.
And there's a ton of official versions and official remixes. So
yeah, no, she collaborated with a bunch of people as well. Like not just mixes. It was, I really like that I got to listen to something that I probably never would have come across on my own.
Yeah. In my
own little bubble.
Agreed.
But was she a one-hit wonder?
I don't think so. She was pretty prolific. Like, I think this helped launch her into like international fame because of everyone that took it and played on it. But I think back home she was always
she's apparently known as the Israeli Madonna.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
Like, I think at least in her home country she was definitely famous and well known. And this song, I think, came out on one of her first albums that went back to her traditional Yemenite roots, where she played more traditional verses, I suppose. So yeah, she's not a one-hit wonder. The fact that she worked on this huge blockbuster musical with Hans Zimmer, kind of a big deal, I think.
That movie has a crazy story to it. I don't want to derail this segment, but
I love that movie.
Katzenberg was pushed out of Disney. Wanted to make a movie that would be bigger than The Lion King. He wanted to win all the Oscars and say, fuck you, Disney. So he spent years obsessively working on Prince of Egypt, fired most everybody all the time on that to make it even better. And then everyone he fired from Prince of Egypt, he would put on the movie he didn't give a fuck about called Shrek. It was just so obsessed with The Prince of Egypt being the greatest and most important animated film of all time.
It was good.
And Shrek has the longer staying power.
Yep. And then he became more obsessed with Shrek franchise. So I'm not surprised that, like, Katzenberg and his obsession was like, give me the greatest singer of all time from this region, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was just going for it.
Mm-hmm.
That said, why did you settle on Val Kilmer to lead?
No. Why Jeffrey Katzenberg does the things he does.
I mean, further Katzenberg stories. Really, everyone should read the Men Who Would Be King about the formation of DreamWorks. The book is bananas. But Farquaad looks the way he does in Shrek because he's supposed to resemble Michael Eisner, his rival at Disney.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. He's got a complex.
Yes.
Interesting.
He does.
Alright, back to this song.
So this is me not derailing the segment.
I don't know what else I can say about the song.
It's a really great song.
It's catchy as hell.
I really like it, yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back and find a clip, if I can, of her doing Eurovision, because she did that in 1983.
Oh, I definitely want to see that.
Right?
That sounds great.
You know Eurovision's on the TV list.
Eurovision's the best.
It is?
Yeah.
Nice.
Eurovision's a wonderful thing.
I always get worried whenever we do a shorter number because those have things in short numbers like Eurovision, the Super Bowl, the Oscars.
Right, you're like, oh, okay.
I'm like, fuck. Time to watch 80 episodes of the Oscars.
Well, I mean, good thing you started at least all the best pictures. No, but those are just the films.
No, you have to watch the ceremony.
The actual, yeah. Okay.
Just gosh.
Revenge Hinges?
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you give it?
4.4. Rather liked it.
I'll give it a 4.
I'll give it a 4.
4 sounds good.
Alright, that is... Nope. Pedro?
Nin'Alu. I don't know if that's the correct way, but...
Bye.
Ofrahasa.
Now it's time for the TV show segment. And this week we're reviewing Takeshi's Castle.
Takeshi's Castle.
In many ways, this actually does transition. Because this show is actually absurdly famous because of how much it's spread across the world, but not in the same regard as our song segment. Whereas that was used to sample to make dancing better, this was sampled and converted to make it the whole show more mockable. This is a Japanese game show, and essentially anyone who has kind of a stale, cliche joke about how crazy Japanese game shows are probably stems from their idea of this. This is a show that ran for about 130, 140 episodes in Japan. It was an hour long of this contrived thing where there's this big chief guy named Takeshi. He has a castle, and in order to stop people from entering his castle, he has really elaborate and batshit insane obstacles that you must cross to try to take over his castle, in which no one does. Because it's insane, the game show gets to start with about 120-ish people doing the first challenge, 80 of which will get past there, and then it just gets sillier and sillier. Versions I saw, I don't know how often they rotated the obstacles, consisted of just like these walls that had like 6 doors on them, but only 2 of those doors of the 6 were real. And sometimes those doors will just have you fall into a pit of mud.
Yeah.
And so people are just like running 100 people at a time through this madness. And then there are challenges similar to Wipeout, which, of course, the creators of this sued, saying you just took our show and took out the crazy castle mythology. Of trying to run on.
Did they win? Do you know?
I don't know. So crazy things of like, a bizarre cartoonish version of American football where people are dressed in super giant just football gear and they have to like run past people trying to tackle them, or they're dressed up as giant hands and they hear some sort of like math puzzle, then they have to jump as a giant hand onto one of the numbers on the floor.
Yeah.
Or they have to lots of impossible mud challenges and lots of like sometimes it ends with just a crazy like go-kart laser tag fight with Takeshi. The point is that unlike American game shows incorporate, probably for legal reasons, ways that you can win. Because once money's involved, we do have rules in America, like this needs to be winnable and fair. This show is not interested in that, and therefore has a different vibe than... So I kept thinking about Fear Factor during this, because Fear Factor is a relatively dumb American game show, but they take it so seriously. There's so much, like, they have to talk to the host about their decision whether or not they're going to have the bull testicle or not, and really kind of think about it. Whereas the contestants in this show are just super happy to be doing this in a way that it resembles more of a game night with friends than $10,000 on the line. No one seems that interested in money. It's more like, I got invited to be on the silliest obstacle course I've ever been to, and this is delightful for me. Everyone is smiling the whole time when they shouldn't, because this looks painful, and it's so built on chance rather than anything else. This show, it was very hard for me to see the original version. I only saw one episode of the original version because it has been adapted all over the world as people just redubbing it and mocking it. Most famously in the UK, for many seasons, back to coming back this year or next year. Next year. There's like 2 days left of this year. We just have comedians short into a half hour, which cuts out several challenges, and just kind of like mocks the contestants in the game and the world it's in. I will say the original season of the UK version, not a fan, because of
it's racist.
Racist is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
And the version that I have not seen, I didn't rewatch for this, but I know I must have seen it years ago, is Most Extreme Challenge, which
Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
So, because Pedro, you know this too, right?
Yes.
Can you guys talk about this some more? Because this goes beyond what, like, 30 other countries did, which was just redubbing the original show. Like, this was an American show that redubbed it and added new plot lines in their redubbing. Is that correctly?
Yeah, for the most part. So, but it's like making a plot as much as you can out of a show like this. Like, they change the contestants' names for obvious reasons. They change the hosts' names, and instead they usually just had 2 teams against each other. So, like, I watched an episode of MXC before recording because I was like, I used to be a huge fan of the show, and I knew that it was based on Takeshi's Castle, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, see how it holds up. It doesn't hold up at all. A lot of the jokes that are made are incredibly offensive at best, just bad at worst. So, I'm sad because I think it could be a lot of fun if they kept the same format of just like basically just making fun of people as they're having a good time playing in the mud, basically. But what's available out there now is not it.
Yeah.
And that was my frustration with the UK adaptation, because my ratings can have a bit of an asterisk this week, just because I only see one of the original version. It's so hard to find the original version because every country in the world did their own redubbing of this, just because it was like, here is the silliest show on the air, and they just let them keep doing it. It's the humor's in the wrong angle. Like, we're all enjoying how silly this is. Embrace that aspect. Don't mock the contestants or the characters. They don't think they're being serious. They just made a really fun playground that is, again, bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. And there is prime comedy to be had here, but you're focusing in the wrong direction. And that's what made the show really tough to watch in the UK version. But from the original first episode of the Japanese version, again, it's still not great. It's paced awkwardly as hell, but it's kind of like why Nintendo works, right? Like, once you're just in the vibe of Mario, you just kind of keep playing. You don't realize that you are an Italian plumber who is fighting flowers that shoot fire until you say it aloud and go, wait, what is happening here?
It's very strange.
But when you're just in it, it works. And the show did capture that, not as well as Nintendo, but I enjoyed how unfair the game show was, which amused me, and that the people like legitimately can't win. So that's my ramble of not a lot of conclusions. Mostly I was frustrated. So until I can see more of the original Japanese show, which again, that's a good venue to do it. Please tell me. I'm gonna give this a 2. Did anyone else see enough to be able to rate it?
No.
Not really, no.
Anyone have any final thoughts on what are we doing, Pedro?
I don't know. I think we're wrapping up.
Fuck, you're right.
Right?
You're right. You're right.
Yes.
Pedro?
Yes.
Way to continue being right. I want you to use one of your gadgets there that don't help me walk. Give me a new number for next week.
I wrote a thing actually in Excel. It's real convenient. It gives us a random number that we haven't.
My
done before.
laptop died like a year ago.
I have mine.
What?
Because I work. This has been established.
The rest of us work. It's just
We still
you.
have jobs.
I've been sitting in the grass. Not this planet has grass. We'll keep that vague for now. For a while.
It has grass. He's been sitting in the grass.
God damn it. Okay, just...
So you just kind of push a button. Like, see, like, boop. 513. There it is.
All right. Now we just have to spend a long time looking for these books to find what
It's
each one...
right here on my phone.
Fuck! All right, so
The album is The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Is the number of the beast 513?
No.
Fuck, that would be really convenient.
The food is ptarmigan.
The song is Boys Don't Cry by The Cure.
The TV show is Sliders. Fuck it. But the movie is actually rather awesome. No more Malick whispering voiceover. We're going to do Gimme Shelter, the Rolling Stone rockumentary.
Sounds fine.
Do we have to call it a rockumentary?
No, we do not.
Can we
Good.
call it a rockumentary?
No.
No.
We're split. We need your thoughts, everyone, on whether we're going to call it a rockumentary the entire episode or not. You can do that by going to Twitter at the Immortals Pod, where Lee runs our Twitter account from wherever we are. Or you can email us your thoughts on rockumentary or no rockumentary at the Immortals at theartomortal.com. You can go to theartomortal.com if you want to bypass all that. Just leave a comment on this episode or any episode. And while you're there, you can check out other podcasts, including Let's Take 5. Tomorrow we're doing our 5th film in the Orson Welles 5, which is his very curious film Chimes at Midnight, where he took a side character from a couple Shakespeare plays and gave him his own film. It'll be a good one. Adam Surdum, so this episode is all about Inception. And they might be having a holiday episode sometime soon, but we'll just tease it for now. The music is always by Departed, Adam Lord. Check him out at songsbyalord.com. And anything else? You guys want to plug anything?
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
You want to wish everyone Merry Christmas or anything?
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, etc.
Mm-hmm. And
No,
a bag of
You guys,
chips.
what?
And a bag of chips.
What do you
She
mean?
said all that.
Yeah, sure, and a bag of chips.
Why isn't all that on the TV show list?
Good question.
All that
I feel like we should.
we
should compare all TV shows that suck to It Could Have Been All That.
Well, that's the focus on Sliders next week.
Yep.
Stay tuned for that. Until then, I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Pedro.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.